Are you stupid? Of course not. Let's make sure you never look that way. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. I am a certified copy editor and English language geek and a longtime internet user. I have read everything from YouTube comments to Instagram DMs of dubious and sometimes concerning quality. I've been keeping notes about common word mix-ups on the internet for months now to make this video, and so I've put together 25 that I've noticed that are really common and that are easy to fix, and you're gonna want to stick around for all 25 of them because there's a really good chance you've never even thought about some of these. Yes, even you, smarty pants. All right, let's go. First one on my list is lose versus loose. This one's a super easy one, obviously. I just want to get it out of the way. Lose with one O means not to have something that you had before, like when you lose your wallet, or you lose your time, or you lose your money, or you lose your sanity. What? Loose, on the other hand, with two O's is the opposite of tight. So this is a very different meaning from something that you lose. Just watch out for this. This is a really simple one, but I just wanted to make sure we got out of the way first. Onward. Next one is actually a 3-for-1. It is Pique, Pique, Pique. I've talked about it in this video before. You can go here to find all of the details about this, but very quickly, P-E-E-K means a quick look at something, like when you do this around a corner, or when you do this when you're playing with a baby. P-E-A-K means the top of something, like the top of a mountain. When you get to the peak of a mountain, you feel pretty good about yourself, and then you have to think about going down. P-I-Q-U-E is what you use when you pique someone's interest. That means that you caught someone's attention and they want to know more about your thing. So when you pique someone's interest, that's a good thing. You do not peek at someone's interest, I hope, and you do not pique someone's interest for sure. There are two super common errors that I see with this. The first is with the expression sneak peek. So sneak is spelled S-N-E-A-K. P-E-E-K is the correct spelling for peek here. It is a sneak peek, sneak look at something, not a sneak peek at something, right? The second error that I commonly see with this one is in the pique your interest use. Someone will say, oh, it piqued my interest, and they use the P-E-A-K spelling like this. This is not what it means. To pique someone's interest means to catch someone's attention, P-I-Q-U-E, so watch out for that one. Okay, let's move on to number 3. The next one is the differences between translate and interpret. Simply put, translate is the righty one, interpret is the speaky one. So if you're talking about a translator, that is a person who changes words from one language to another. If you're talking about an interpreter, you're talking about someone who changes spoken words from one language to another. So I often see people referring to interpreters as translators. I get that this is what you want to say, but they are two very different things, and translators and interpreters especially are very conscious of the differences between words, even very small ones. So when you're talking about translators and interpreters, make sure you use the correct one. Translate, write. Interpret, speak. Done. Okay, number 4 is one that I feel I've noticed the most in things like Instagram comments. I've noticed that people mix up the words weary and wary. So weary means tired or exhausted, and wary means like suspicious and skeptical of something. And I've noticed that a lot of people will intend to write that they are wary of a person or wary of a situation, which means they're skeptical or suspicious of something. But instead, they write that they are weary of that situation or weary of the person. So this is incorrect. When you want to say that you are skeptical of something, you need to type the W-A-R-Y spelling, wary. It is not weary, and they are not interchangeable. So watch out for that one. Okay, let's move on to number 5. This is a classic mistake, but it bears repeating because so many people have trouble with this every single day. It's with an apostrophe versus it's with no apostrophe. To refresh our minds, it's with no apostrophe is the possessive form, as in the dog is wagging its tail. It with an apostrophe S means it is, as in it's a beautiful day today. So this is a very quick reminder about the differences between these two. If you want even more examples and even more reminders, you can go and check the video about this that I have on the channel. Good luck. Okay, number 6 is one that made me audibly gasp the first time that I saw it in a YouTube comment section. The problem is with the expression lo and behold. In this expression, lo is written L-O, but the person wrote L-O-W, as in the opposite of high. So low, L-O, is an old English word that's used to like draw attention, like hey or oh or something like that, to exclaim in some way. So the expression lo and behold doesn't mean low as in the opposite of high and behold. You're drawing attention to something. Lo and behold, this other thing happened. So I know this one probably seems a little bit weird, especially if you don't use a lot of expressions that use these sort of old old English vocabulary words, but if you want to make sure that you're precise, stick with the LO spelling. The LOW one is incorrect. Okay, let's move on to number 7. The problem here is with the expression Beck and Call. I've seen this mistyped or maybe just misunderstood as Beck and Call. So the expression, to be clear, is Beck and call. I kind of understand this one though. To beckon someone, the verb to beckon means to call them to you. So I sort of understand how this might be confusing. Like she came at his every beck and call. I sort of understand that. But the expression is actually beck and call. So you might be asking like, okay, so what is a beck then? So beck is an old word that means a gesture asking someone to come to you. So it's the noun form of beckon. But make sure that you're precise when you're using this expression. It is beck and call, not beck and call. Onward. Okay, this next mix-up is so common. It is the difference between reek and reek. The spellings are different here. R-E-E-K means something that stinks. Something that reeks is something that has a horrible, horrible smell. W-R-E-A-K is the one that we use when we want to say the expression to wreak havoc. So to wreak havoc on something is to cause in like a negative or a really extreme way. So when we wreak havoc on something, we need to use that W-R-E-A-K spelling. You cannot wreak R-E-E-K havoc. So wreak refers to smell. So the next time you need to wreak havoc somewhere, you can now ensure you do it with the correct spelling. Okay, on to number 9, Q and Q. To cue, C-U-E, means to give someone a signal to do something. To cue, with the Q at the beginning, Q-U-E-U-E, the spelling that looks like queue, means to stand in a line for something. We use that one more in British English than we do in American English. Weird one that I see all the time is the Q-U-E confused one, super confused one. This is not a word in English, that is que in Spanish, which means what. So don't use that one when you want to use Q. So to cue means to signal as a verb or to stand in a line, and it can also be just a noun, cue. So that's my cue, means that's my signal. So watch out for this. When you want to signal somebody, use that C-U-E spelling. When you're talking about standing in a line or just the line itself, Q-U-E-U-E, queue, if you want to remember that in the funny way. Okay, onward, let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, waive and waive. This one is so common. To waive, this one does not have an I in it. When you want to say no to a fee, someone does not have to pay a fee, for example, you decide to waive a fee or waive some kind of requirement or an application, that is waive with an I in it. I kind of get the confusion with this one. It kind of sounds like waive a fee, maybe like a Jedi mind trick sort of thing, but no. Waive a fee, stick an I in there, and then you're good to go. I don't know why I keep doing this. Anyway, waive it. Waive. Goodbye. Oh my gosh. Faze and Faze is next on my list, you guys. Faze and Faze are two very commonly confused ones. I see this one all the time. P-H-A-S-E, phase means like a period of time. Like when you're a teenager, you probably go through a phase, or maybe you had several phases where you had weird fashion and like a very odd attitude. We all had it. Faze, on the other hand, F-A-Z-E, is what we use in the expression like, oh, it didn't faze her, or his words didn't faze the other guy, which means it didn't cause that person like to pause or to reconsider or change their behavior or like go, oh, I don't know what I should do. That's to faze another person. So when you say it didn't faze her, it didn't faze him, don't use that P-H-A-S-E spelling because it's wrong and it looks pretty goofy. Okay, and the next one on this list is something that I've talked about on this channel before, but we're going to review it because there's a lot of mistakes with this everywhere on the internet because we are humans. Past and pass. We're going to talk about P-A-S-S-E-D and P-A-S-T. So when you talk about driving past something else, you go beyond that thing. You want the P-A-S-T spelling. I drove past your house. P-A-S-S-E-D is not used to talk about going beyond something like this. When we say, I passed my mom the salt at the table, or I passed my friend a piece of paper, that is when you use the P-A-S-S-E-D spelling. That is the past tense form of the verb to pass. I know this is very confusing, but stick with me. So when you pass someone something like this, and you want to talk about that in the past, P-A-S-T tense, you use the P-A-S-S-E-D spelling. I passed my mom the salt. When you talk about driving past your friend's house to shout at them from the window, you use the P-A-S-T spelling to do that. If you want some more examples of this, and if you want a slightly slower explanation of the differences between these words, go and check out the video that I already have on this channel about this very problem. Okay, next one on our list today is the difference between principal and principal. They sound super, super similar. I'm over-exaggerating the pronunciation for the purposes of this video at the moment, but when we say them in everyday speech, they sound almost exactly the same. It's the principle of the thing. It's the principle of the thing, right? They sound exactly the same. So a lot of people like to remember the difference between these two with that pal at the end of principal, which some people remember as the principal is your pal. So the pal one is the one that refers to a person. In US schools, the principal is the head of the school. So a lot of people like to remember this one as the pal one because a principal can be your pal in this sense. So this maybe is not always true, but that's beside the point. So it's just a way to remember that this one is the one that belongs to a human. A principle is like a fundamental truth or something that is like a very, very important like foundation of someone's understanding of something. You might hear it used in like, it's the principle of the thing, or that's just like the foundational thing about some situation or some concept or whatever. So principle, P-L-E ending, and principal are very, very different, totally different ideas. To remember the one that is the person, just try that principle is your pal trick. That might help you. The next one is another 3-for-1. Cite, cite, cite. S-I-T-E, C-I-T-E, S-I-G-H-T. Let's start with the easy one. S-I-G-H-T is your sight, your sense, the one that allows you to see things, like I am doing very badly right now. Let's move on to the two difficult ones, the ones that I see get mixed up all the time, which are cite and site, as in C-I-T-E and S-I-T-E. Cite with S-I-T-E refers to a website, and it refers to the location of, say, a construction project. So when people do a site visit, they're going to the S-I-T-E site, not the C-I-T-E site, and for that matter, not the S-I-G-H-T site either. When you want to go to a location to check it out, to visit that location, to look at something that is going on there, like in a construction situation, for example, always use that S-I-T-E spelling. You are doing a site check. On the other hand, when you are checking your sources and you need to refer to your sources, like when you're writing a paper and you need to cite your sources, that is the C-I-T-E spelling. You need to cite your sources. You do not cite your sources. You do not go to a site, S-I-T-E, to review your sources. You cite your sources by writing them down on another piece of paper at the end of your paper, right? C-I-T-E, your sources. So to cite your sources, you may need to go to a website, which requires you to have Cite to view. Was that confusing? Probably. Let's move on. The biggest thing I hope you take away from this one is that when you do a site visit, as in the construction example, you use the S-I-T-E spelling. That's the one that I see most commonly confused with one of the other ones, so watch out for that. Let's move on to our next one, which is diffuse versus diffuse. Heck yeah. Okay, the problem that I see with this one a lot is in the expression, we need to diffuse the situation. So in rapid speech, defuse, which means like removing the fuse from a bomb, and diffuse, which means like spreading gradually throughout the air, throughout another substance, they sound almost exactly the same, right? But people tend to use the diffuse spelling when they want to say defuse. So they want to say we need to defuse the situation, which means we need to stop the situation from becoming bigger than it is. Like when you see an argument about to start, people will say, oh my gosh, we need to defuse the situation. That means you need to remove the fuse from the bomb of the situation, right? You need to cool the situation down. You do not need to spread something through the air in the situation, right? That is diffuse. You want to defuse the situation. So watch out for this one. This one is a super, super common one. I see smart people make this mistake all the time, so you don't have to be one of them. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next one, which is the difference between roll and roll, R-O-L-L versus R-O-L-E. To roll something means to go like this with it, like you roll something across the surface. It is also the spelling of the noun, the delicious bread that we eat at meals. A roll, like this. A roll, R-O-L-E, is like the character that you see in a play. That is someone's role, or it is the thing that you do at work, your role at work. So the more common mistake that I see is that people tend to want to use the R-O-L-L spelling for duties and like characters and like kind of positions that we take in our lives. That is not correct. We have to use the R-O-L-E spelling to do that, so watch out for this one. Onward. The next one is the difference between soul and soul. So S-O-L-E, meaning one and only, also the bottom of your shoe, versus S-O-U-L, that thing that is inside every living creature, supposedly, that makes us who we are. Our S-O-L-E is the bottom of our foot. Very different things. So when you want to talk about your heart and soul, make sure you use that S-O-U-L spelling, not the S-O-L-E spelling, and then it's going to sound and look a whole lot better. The next one is, our dear friends, affect and effect. So I've made a video about the differences between these two words. They are so commonly confused, but you can make sure that you never mess up ever again if you watch this video. Here is the super quick version. Affect is the one that is used with an A, and that is the one that is the verb form. To affect something means to cause something to change in some way. Effect is the noun form. So I made up a silly rhyme to help you remember this, and it's still stuck in my head, which means that I must have done a pretty good one. Affect with an A is a verb, okay? Affect with an E is a noun, you see? So there you go. So when you have an effect on something, you have an effect on that thing. When you affect something, you affect that thing. So it's all about the grammar of your sentence there. So you need to use a little bit of grammar, you need to use a little bit of your brain in order to know the difference between affect and effect, and then you're golden. Great. Easy, right? Go watch this video for more. Let's move on to the next one, which is bear and bear. I also have a video on this one. So to bear something means to carry something. It can mean stress. It can also mean something physically difficult to carry. B-E-A-R. Also, this is the way that we spell like things like a teddy bear or like the horrible, terrifying animal that you might, it's not horrible, that was mean to say to bears, but that's the animal that you might find in the woods, the B-E-A-R spelling. B-A-R-E means something that is not clothed, it is naked, it has nothing on it. You might also hear this used to talk about like the ground. You can talk about bare arms with this. So when you bare your soul to someone, this is also the spelling that you use. We can also use bare to talk about like the fundamentals of something, as in the bare necessities of something. For more on this, you can go and watch the video that I have on my channel all about the differences between these as well, so you never mix them up. Weird like past tense and past participle forms to be aware of there too. So just so you know, go and check that out so that you never make a mistake with those again. Okay, on to the next one, which is evoke versus invoke. Okay, I understand why these are really commonly confused. So when we evoke something, we cause it to like appear in our minds, okay? So like it evokes an image of something, or it like evokes a feeling in someone else. It causes us to feel that thing. When we invoke something, it's like we summon that thing. So like it actually appears in front of us. So it's like when you watch like a horror movie or maybe like a fantasy movie or whatever, and they like invoke like some like god, or like invoke like a, I don't know, the powers of some demon or something, and something happens right in front of them. That's when you should use the word invoke. When you want to use evoke, you are talking about like causing someone's like emotions and things like that to go crazy for some reason. So yes, you are causing things to happen, and they're kind of like interesting and maybe like emotional or spiritual or something like that, but one actually like summons a thing and one just kind of summons a feeling. So that's the difference between evoke. Maybe an easy way to remember that is like evoke is related to your emotions. I don't know, I just came up with that, but there you go. Okay, on to the next one, which is flaunt versus flout. First, let's talk about flaunt. So when we flaunt something, we are showing that thing off. So I might flaunt my new dress, or someone might flaunt their new watch, or flaunt the latest luxury purchase they have. The point is here that we are trying to show something off. When we flout something, we disregard that thing. This word is most commonly used in expressions like she flouted the rules, or he flouted the rules, which means he disregarded the rules. For whatever reason, I suspect because these words kind of sound a little bit similar, maybe spelled or a bit similarly, I suppose, I don't know. Anyway, for whatever reason, flaunt often gets dropped in flout's place there. So people will say, she flaunted the rules, which doesn't make any sense. Grammatically, it makes sense, which it would mean like she showed off the rules, which is weird. I don't know why you would want to show off the rules like in a very like obvious way. Doesn't make much sense in that way, but you want flout in that position. You do not want to use flaunt. We do not flaunt the rules, we flout the rules. So be careful of that one. I see a lot of people make that mistake all the time. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is a classic. This is my least favorite on this list because I always have to look it up too because it is so confusing. If you are in the same boat, don't feel bad about it. This is what we have the internet for. Lay and lie. Let's at least be aware that these are different. So from a grammatical perspective, lay, L-A-Y, needs an object, what's called an object. So that means that we have to do something to another object. So we need to, like, for example, lay a bag down on the table, or like lay our phone down on the desk, right? So we have to have an object for the verb. Lie, on the other hand, does not need an object. You could just say, I lie down every night or something like that, right? So we don't need to have an object. We do need to have an object when we use the verb lay. So this is part of it. The most confusing part of it, or maybe the thing that makes it even more confusing, is that lay in past tense is laid, like she laid her bag on the table. Lie, on the other hand, the past tense form of that is lay. Isn't this evil? Such an evil thing of the English language. So this is all very, very confusing, and I actually don't expect you to remember it from this video, but I just hope that you remember from this video that the two are in fact different. So in those moments when it's really important to be precise, like if you're editing something, or if you really want to make sure like this document is just perfect for whatever reason, I just want you to be aware that there are key differences between lay and lie, and just go to the internet to look it up, because it's so hard to remember it unless you're working with this kind of thing every single day. So good thing to be aware of. If like me you forget this one all the time, it's okay. Join the club. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is lead and lead. So this one is actually really confusing because L-E-A-D, lead, looks just like lead, right? Which is related to what we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about this L-E-A-D, lead spelling. So lead refers to a material. So like the lead in your pencil, for example. This is how we spell it. L-E-D, on the other hand, lead, this is the past tense of the verb to lead. So when you want to talk about leading an animal somewhere, like leading a dog in the park or leading a horse somewhere, we use the verb to lead, which is spelled L-E-A-D. This is really confusing, right? So when we want to talk about leading, but past tense, we use led, L-E-D, like he led his dog through the park, or she led her horse to the water. This is the past tense spelling of the verb lead. So this is all really confusing. I can completely understand why this one is really hard to remember too. This one, for whatever reason, is kind of easy for me to remember. I don't know why that is, but if it's confusing for you, I totally get it. And this is another one that is great to look up whenever you need to use one of these words. Okay, we're almost done. We just have two left. So the next one on the list is for all intents and purposes. Okay, this is a set phrase, for all intents and purposes. The mistake that I see with this expression is that many people think that this is for all intensive purposes, which I suppose I could kind of understand, but also no. This is one of those mistakes that, like, if you just kind of try to break it down in your head, you might go like, what does that even mean, right? Just think about that for a second. For any of you out there who are guilty of for all intensive purposes, you are forgiven. It is okay. I kind of see how the mistake could happen, and I kind of see how you might just never question it, thinking that it was sort of a set phrase, but the expression is for all intents and purposes. So now you're good to go. Let's go to our last one super quickly, the difference between palate and palate. When you want to talk about a refined palate, like somebody who is good at understanding flavors in food, that is the P-A-L-A-T-E spelling. He has a refined palate. When you want to talk about maybe something made of wood that you put other stuff on top of, that is a P-A-L-L-E-T palate. Very, very different things. So a refined palate, palate, there's an 8 at the end of that, A-T-E, that might help you to remember that this one is the one that refers to flavors. And with that, we have reached the end of my 25 very dumb, very common word mix-ups that even smart people are very guilty of. I include myself in this. Lay and lie is gonna get me until the end of time, I'm sure. I'm always gonna have to look that one up. If you got them all correct, congratulations, you are a master at everything and you are better than all of us. I'm sure you also smell very nice. I really enjoyed keeping an eye out for common mistakes that I could talk about in this video, and I will continue to do that and hopefully put together another video of some other common mistakes that I come across. But if you have found any that I didn't talk about in this video, please feel free to let me know about them in the comments, and I can maybe add them to my list for the next time that I make a video like this one. Of course, if you kept score for yourself too and you want to share your score with everybody else who watched this video, you can leave that in the comment section as well. I'm very curious to see how everybody did with these, because these are such common mistakes and they're really, really good ones to keep in mind. Also, if you like this video, please don't forget to leave a quick like. I would really appreciate it because it helps other people to find this video. And of course, subscribe to my channel too, because I have all kinds of videos just like this one that will help break down the differences between words, we'll explore etymologies, and overall just make you a better, smarter person. Who wouldn't want that? If you like this video, here's another one that you might enjoy after this. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you again next time. Bye! My foot's falling asleep already. I'm on word 2. Great. Okay.